Good evening from London of News in Melbourne. We're now heading over to New Zealand to talk to Steve and Vicky in relation to the Common Law Society. Now, the Common Law Society has got very little to do with the Common Law Courts. It's not a wing or branch or anything. It's a society set up like we have the Law Society. Now we have and they're all barristers and solicitors, which I can assure you we're a long way away from, and we will not be copying them in any form. So this Common Law Society is a group of people of the same mind, with the same purpose in common law, and it's a really, really good little vehicle we're going to use to help raise the money to promote the law enforcement aspect of the common law courts itself. So over to Steve and Vicky in New Zealand, and welcome on board, and let's tell me what you've done and how it's working.
Great, thank you, Barry. Lovely to be here. We formed this society. It's really a society for the people, by the people, and it's just to form a group of people. The problem we've got in New Zealand, around the world now, we've got so much censorship. So if you say something on Facebook and that someone doesn't like, you can get thrown off and all this sort of thing, and we've sort of lost our freedoms of speech and this sort of thing, and we thought it's not very fair. So what we've done is we formed this society it's a system like Facebook, and it'll allow you to post things, talk to people, meet like-minded people that are going in the same direction or have similar thoughts. You can have discussions with them. You can form private groups. You can form hidden groups. Look, you could even have a gardening group if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. Any kind of group at all, if you have a commonality with some people. It's what I said. It's just one of those things that you can form like-minded groups and have a platform where you can discuss various things, whether it be politics. It doesn't really matter, and it's funded by the people. There's a small charge, $12.95, and that goes to the continuing maintenance and the upgrading of the software and all this sort of thing. So a couple of cups of coffee, and you have this system that you can go on anytime. You can talk. It's global. So you can talk to anyone, anywhere in the world, and form a group with them. So it's quite exciting. We're looking forward to it. And the idea is that if we get enough people together that are like-minded and they see something that they're feeling aggrieved about for any reason, or, there's a politician that's causing them some issues, that group of people we can form together and get a consensus, and we've got some power together. So that's really the sort of nub of it. It's just to get people together and allow them to discuss things in private that they wish to discuss, and in doing so, we have power. It's a numbers game, and there's more of us than there is of them, basically.
Yeah. So basically, it's like Facebook without the possibility of being kicked off because you've upset somebody. But the main purpose of this is to raise money for the law enforcement aspect of the independent common law court, which is set up independently of this. But this money and some of the small little fee that you put in there will help common law court law enforcement agency, which is the sheriffs and the deputy sheriffs, to get uniforms, to get IDs made up, and all the necessary equipment to get it off the ground. Plus, people can obviously form little groups on there, and they can discuss things that they can't normally discuss on Facebook, and that would be pretty nice. Although I'm a great fan of Facebook, and I'd hate to see that it go, and we're certainly not in competition. I'm sure. Are we in competition, or is it just this is for a bit of fun on the side without insulting anybody? Because it's a private little group, it's a society, and a society is very important, because if we have 2,000 people in that society, it in the fictional system becomes a small township. And a small township can elect officials. So it has a double-edged sword, and it's very, very important. I think you've done a great job setting it up.
You're absolutely right, Barry. That's what it'll help fund. And we just want to make people aware that it's certainly not going to replace Facebook. But, sometimes there are things you can't say on there. And while we want everyone to be respectful, respect others and that sort of thing, we certainly don't want anyone abusing anyone or anything like that. So it's got to be treated with respect. But it's just a forum where you can post things, you can post videos or things you want to discuss that we haven't got an opportunity now because we've been so badly censored in every way. Our government censors now what we watch, what we read, what you can say, what you can watch. It's just ridiculous. And we can't have that. We're supposed to have a democracy, and our democracy has been eroded to the point where we need these things so we can override that and do the things and say the things that we wish to say as a community.
Well, at least in New Zealand, you have a certain amount of freedom. Victoria would have to be the most demoralized state in the world because there's a curfew. I mean, I have broken no laws. And in fact, as an ex-cop, I used to enforce law and order and common law, where nowadays there's no law at all. It's just basically everybody themselves. And the poor old cops on the ground have been told that, don't worry, the bosses say, we've got you covered, but these guys will get thrown under a bus at the drop of a hat. So we do need an alternative, and we need to get the people together. But that forum, the common law or the common law society, is, I mean, this is like the legal society itself is massive. I mean, it's worldwide, and this society will be specifically for New Zealand and Australia, so that although if people overseas can join up if they wish, and as long as somebody puts that $12 in, which is really $12.95 or something, that covers your expenses because you're up out of pocket by a few $1,000s to set it up, and of course running costs. But come on, guys, I think if you put a few dollars in, join in. If you want to put more than $12, $13 in, can they do that, Steve? So we've only probably we're both out of pocket by a few $1,000s setting things up. We'll probably never get it back. But if someone can put just sponsor us, guys, put a few dollars in and help us get off the ground, because in the end, this is the only road back. The society and of course the common law courts, which international common law court, we've got to be specific about that because that's set up in Victoria. That's also set up in New South Wales and in New Zealand as well. So, and down the track, it will spread. That doesn't stop other people in other states doing common law courts, but the International Common Law Court is approved and authorized by the United Kingdom, and that removes the onus off us because that's an established organization. So what other aspects, apart from groups, that you can put photographs up, videos and stuff? Tell us a bit more about it. Because
absolutely. You can do all sorts of things. I mean, within the groups, I mean, if you wanted to, you could have a UK group or anything, or like we ultimately, if it grows to the point where we could have a Christchurch group and an Auckland group, and they can discuss things that are pertinent to Auckland, and likewise in Australia, they could have a Sydney group or a Melbourne group or, whatever. And within those groups, they can integrate with other groups. But if they want to, if they've got particular issues in their area that they want to discuss or work out a strategic plan for, then they can do that. That's the good thing. It's so flexible. And as you say, they can upload anything they want.
So they can actually, basically, if people have problems with the system, the fictional system or whatever, they can have a chat among each other and perhaps even get advice. Now, it won't be given legal advice, but it will be given some kind of advice from each other, which is fair enough. People in the community can talk about things, and that's probably a great aspect.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And Vicky might like to to just expand on it. She's the one that's actually organised all the software, positioned it all, and there's been quite a bit of research that's gone into it, and she set it all up, and everything appears to be operating smoothly now. So we're ready for some people to come on board.
Did we want to have a look at it, Barry? Sure.
Be very quiet, but Vicky is the designer. She's the brains behind both of us, right? So go for it, Vicky. Let's see what you've done there, and we'll show people how to get in, and when they're in, what to do.
So this is what we call the landing page, or the home page to the commonlawsociety.net. So when you come in here, you can just simply click the join button, or we do have a small bit of the content that's public. So some of the posts will always be public and information we'd like to share. Once you sign in or sign up, you'll put your details in. You'll be asked to join. Once you join, you'll then be asked to put in your donation, which is an annual fee of $12.95. I'll just sign in so we can have a wee look.
And just like Facebook, you can put your own background, your photographing, because I've done that. I thought it was pretty good.
Yes, so the way it works is it displays pretty much so like Facebook. You've just got an activity feed where people are posting content.
Kevin
The
Arnott,
majority, yeah, the majority of which is probably going to be common law based. You've got your groups and your group members and anything you're following. So this is what you come to as your homepage, and you'll just get a regular update of what's going on the platform, and you'll be able to like it, comment on it, share it out. You can share it out to Facebook, share it out to
oh, you can actually share from
other
here to Facebook.
platforms.
Can I upload, say,
Yes,
one of my videos
absolutely.
from London News? I can upload one into that as well and share it on there as well.
Yeah, you just go from your YouTube account, just put in your YouTube URL, and it'll just load like this one of
Kevin Arnott.
Kevin Annette. Yep. It'll just load in, put your comment, and then post it. You can choose to post it onto the public forum or into your own personal private group, or into, if you choose to have a hidden group, if you want to keep everything just within one very closed network of people.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much so it. We've got all sorts of various things that have been sort of posted and played with to date.
And so all we need now is some people, Barry.
Oh, well, that's not a problem. A lot of people will be interested in that. I mean, it's a great opportunity, and it's an alternative to Facebook where people can communicate in private. I think that's and by joining up, they're actually supporting, helping to get the law enforcement aspect of the International Common Law Court off the ground. Again, this is an independent society, and it's well and truly removed from the common law court, International Common Law Court, but at the same time, it's the money coming here is definitely helping to get the law enforcement aspect of the courts into action.
Absolutely, and the reason there's the wee fee on it, it's a managed platform, so we've tried to keep it as secure as possible, and and we only ask for very limited information, just enough so that we know who's coming on the platform, and that's about all really. So
Well,
hopefully we can get a few on it and get it coming together and get people communicating.
okay. It's really good to see that. That's good. So if I can upload my video, and so can other people upload their videos onto there, and obviously we'll keep it in line with this. Well, they can upload something that's not, as long as it's not naughty, I suppose, but try and keep it
Exactly.
in the common law society, rather than, but I don't think we'll have anything too exciting on there. It might get too many people in, but that's another story. But the main purpose of this is to form a society, and we need over 2,000 people, so that society can actually stop a bill going through Parliament, because it's a township, and it gives us a little bit of power. And God knows at this day, and the word God is something that the government don't like you using, because it means your allegiance is to a higher power and not to them. So that word, but we do need to fight back, because we've lost everything, and it's time to turn around and fight back, which we're doing. And you guys are doing a great job setting this up. So
I think that's probably covers most of the things. But as you just alluded to, if we got 2,000 people together, we can actually stop a bill going through Parliament if people don't like it, because our governments and a lot of governments around the world are a bit of a law unto themselves. They just make laws willy-nilly, and a lot of them without due thought and care to the consequences. And so with this gives us a platform where we can get people together, and if necessary, if people feel so strongly about it, we can actually stop government doing something, which is quite empowering, really.
Well, Bill Turner succeeded. The Therapeutic Goods Act here in Victoria, or sorry, in Australia in general. I mean, I went to the health food shop today to get burdock. Now, burdock is a very common herb. It cleans the blood, and it's a fantastic herb. It's been around since Adam and Eve or before. They probably eat it, but anyhow, along with the apple. But anyhow, you can't get it here anymore. They kind of and a lot of herbs have gone, but you can get them in New Zealand, and that's thanks to Bill Turner, who used a society in New Zealand that had over 5,000 members. So they stopped that bill going through Parliament, because when a bill goes into Parliament, it's read 3 times. Well, the society promised to pay that bill, and that's really, there was no money to be made. So then the Parliament just chucked it out. So you guys in New Zealand are very lucky. You can get a lot of herbs that you cannot get anywhere else in the world, which are natural. I mean, if you do believe in God, he's given us the food, he's given us the medicine, and he's given us the government to make our lives miseries. You know, there's no governments anymore. We've got corporations which are all crooked and corrupt.
Well, you're absolutely right, and it's quite bizarre when a government tells you what you can eat and what you can't eat and what you can import, and so many ridiculous things happening now. I mean, you know, they tell you when you wear a mask and that you have to be vaccinated, and this is a lot of these things are very clear breaches of human rights, and not everyone wants to agree with that. That's for sure.
It's pretty sad when people are actually in Melbourne getting arrested for not wearing a mask. And a couple of people popped out, which are rather hungry. I'm sure a lot of single people don't have a lot of food in their homes. I know if I was single, I'd be starving. I'd be a lot thinner, perhaps, which is probably a good thing. But some people have popped out to get a pizza, you know, at 8:15 at night, got pulled up, and have ended up with a large $1,000-something fine. Now, and it's not lawful. It's not even legal, which is the word I find repulsive. It's common sense. It's crazy.
Mm.
I mean, how in the name of God can you, you know, I mean, you know, it's based on fear, and if lives are based on fear. Now, apparently, more people have died in Australia because of the result of our shutdown in general than any alleged virus death. I mean, it's gone to the crazies. I mean, when you get a 76-year-old man arrested for proposing a lawful march protest, I mean, this has to stop. And with the Law Society and the help of the other aspect of the common law, international common law courts being set up, which are set up but ready to go, if we don't do something now, well, we're going to pay for it. Our children, if you look back on what we've lost, children don't play in the parks anymore. They don't have dogs because the families can't afford them. And what's amazing here in Victoria, 400 football associates, their families, including Eddie, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they've all flown up to Queensland, all left Victoria, and we have a friend which we're knowledgeable about who can't get his wife out of Victoria, get her home. And here we have 400 people allowed to leave Melbourne by airplane because they're officials and they've got money. If people want to put up with this for the next 10 years, well, good luck to them, because they shouldn't be thinking about themselves. They should be thinking about their children and their grandchildren, because it's going to get worse.
You're right. It's very clear we've got 2 levels of justice, which is just not acceptable. And it's interesting, even my associations with police, not that I've had many, most of them have no idea of their oath of office. They really don't know what they're obliged to do. And in New Zealand, I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but policemen in New Zealand have an oath of office, and it's only to do 2 things. And one is to keep the peace, and the other is to keep the public safe. And so they have no other rights. And so it's really bizarre. I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but I imagine it's much the same.
Well, in the old days, we used to say TGF, means the job is totally. Now it's TGF, totally. And a lot of the ordinary guys who have been on the job for years out there, they know that the whole thing's been, they're not police as such, they're now corporations and they're working for corporations. But if you've been in the job 20 years, you just can't afford to walk away from your pension. The police command have allowed this to happen, and the blame stays with you guys at the top there. And I know a couple of you, decent blokes who are worried about their pensions and some are hanging on waiting to resign so they can get out of it. But you allowed the government to make you a private corporation. And if you really got off your butts and arrested these criminals, because they are. Anybody who commits treason can be arrested without warrant, or it's a prison of treason, can be arrested without warrant. Fraud, all these things, it would all end tomorrow.
Not sure whether you watch much of what's going on in New Zealand politically, but a few weeks ago, or it was about a week ago, there's a man who posts some videos, Terry Opine, and there was a couple of people, not many, that did a little protest somewhere in Auckland, weren't quite sure where it was, and he must have had someone there that videoed it for him. And the police came to move these protesters along. There was two of them. There was a man with a placard, another lady, she was a nurse, and she was talking to a reporter and just describing why she was there, and that was the reason why she was protesting. And these two big burly policemen came along and told her to move along. Well, she wouldn't, and to her credit, and she stood up to them and said, no, I have a right to be here, and I have a right to protest. And a few minutes later, another 4 policemen arrived. It ended up that the policemen that were there outnumbered the protesters. It was an absolute joke, and it made a mockery of the police force. And there was 2 protesters. If Terry Opine, you can if you can find that, it's worth watching it, and it's just so ridiculous. It's not even funny when you see these policemen. I think they ended up about 12 policemen and 2 protesters.
Oh, it's happening here, and as an ex-cop, it makes me really sad, because I remember, I'm going back to the 80s when I was out of it, but I remember if someone walked onto private property and they hadn't committed an indictable offence, there's no way we would walk on there. We would try and encourage them to come out onto the footpath, and if they didn't, well, we just walked away because we were breaking the law. And how anybody in there's police and police, a real policeman who's there because that's the job he grew up to be, he can't feel comfortable breaking the law. And imagine arresting a pregnant young girl today. We've seen on Facebook, you can't believe everything you see, by the way. There's a couple of incidents on Facebook about police treating people bad and arrested, and they're furfies, they're not real. But how could any man with kids, a policeman or a policewoman, arrest a woman because she's promoting a demonstration, which is under the law we're entitled to do, and we're promoting it to be peaceful and stuff. I mean, there are idiots who tag onto these demonstrations, and the media, of course, they're like a virus when it comes to violence. That's the only thing they're interested in the story. But, let's hope that the International Common Law Court really gets up and runs, and it's up and running, which really gets its case together, and with the help from the organization you've set up, the Common Law Society, with a few dollars from there and a few dollars from everywhere, this will change. And I thank you guys. You've done a wonderful job. And of course, you are members of the International Common Law Court as well. And you're setting that up in New Zealand. We'll probably talk. We're all meeting tomorrow night for the group together. So perhaps we'll say goodbye for now, and we'll all meet tomorrow night, and we'll discuss, let the rest of the group know what's happening. Well, they'll know by tomorrow night with a bit of luck. If I don't fall asleep editing this, which is not hard. And it makes it easier because we got 2 big screens rather than 6 or 7. So anyway, thanks very, very much for tonight, and thanks for all your help. And you guys out there who see this, just put your $12.95 or something in. It's just to help. They're out of pocket quite a bit of money, but that anything left over from what they make will come to help set up the common law sheriffs. And the sheriffs are very important. Now, the sheriffs are we're not having jails and machine guns. The sheriff's job is to keep the peace in the courthouse, appoint deputy sheriffs in the courthouse, deliver the summonses. So we don't want hundreds of applications for sheriffs, because the sheriff's job is not as glamorous as it may look. It's just basically the summons deliverer. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. London News signing off, and goodbye to you guys over there in New Zealand. See you tomorrow night in the Common Law Court setup.
Thank you, Barry.